What is the future of solar and how will it change your life? That is the discussion we are having today. And as soon as I show this to you, and as soon as you see it, you're going to go, ah, wow. That is going to be a major, major impact. Okay, just pause with me for just a second. So here's what we're going to look at. We're basically just going to look at your budget. Let's see where you take and you make your monthly expenditures too. Because you have these expenses that so far you haven't figured out how to get rid of. And then the question is how will your future change on it? And we're looking primarily at the energy. So you use energy to power your car. You drive to and from work and you expend gas, correct? Okay. The other one is you actually use natural gas to heat your home. And then the third one is you will use electricity to power your home. These are probably three of the bigger expenditures that you make on a monthly basis. If you literally sat back, you probably spend $600 to $1,000 a month, depending on what kind of lifestyle and kind of what you do. But that is a big chunk of money. And what we're going to talk about is that these energy expenditures will shift as we start moving into the future. So my name is Mike Morris. I'm a solar wholesale provider. And this is one of the big things that's coming up that I'm seeing that's taking place. Okay, so you already know who Elon Musk is, correct? He's building all these electric cars. And here's the vision that Elon Musk has. What he wants to do is he wants to create this electric vehicle that can be powered obviously by electricity. But it comes with more than just that. There's some other significant benefits you've got. Here's how he's got it designed. He wants you to be able, let's just say that you have no money in your checking account, you're just flat broke, right? The only thing you actually have is a Tesla car, okay? And you're in California and you want to take and drive all the way to New York, but you want to successfully do it with zero money. Like, if anybody presented that any other way today, people would have just laughed, right? Or at least in the past. But here's the thing that's changed. He has gone out and he's put up these solar systems that are actually creating electricity, and they're actually creating charge stations where you could literally go and take your car on your route from California to New York. You could literally go in, plug into it, and actually top off your car or have your car fully charged for the trip. So in other words, you could literally do this transportation from California to New York the way this is set up. And here's the secret. The secret is he's putting out these solar panel, like you could call it farm or whatever, but he's putting up solar panels that's then collecting the electricity, generating a charge station so that you and I can go access this and travel across the United States for free. As you can see, that's a big deal. Take a look at your monthly expenditures. How much money are you spending on gas? And I'll bet the question is it's a fair amount, correct? But here's the cool thing about the solar system is when he puts it up, it just continues to produce electricity. It doesn't actually have to have some big old supply chain where it's got to go drill for some oil. Then it's got to bring the oil in. Then it's got to do all this refining, and then after it refines it, then it's got to take and transport it to the gas station. Then after the gas station, then you've got to show up and pay for it, right? With ever increasing costs as far as this transaction goes. The supply chain on his solar system strategy is solar panels produce the electricity to feed the charge station. All local. You show up, charge up, you can take and execute. Does that make sense? Like, it is literally shifting how we go about making expenditures to take and to do our transportation. It changes everything. Okay? So now let's just take and let's look at your house. You probably have a house that's got natural gas in it, correct? What if, and here's the thing that's shifting, is if your house was to convert to a fully electric house, meaning that you no longer needed natural gas to power your house. Here's the secret that's starting to come into play, is the fact that you can literally go and put solar panels up on your roof. Or in other words, you can do the exact same thing that Elon Musk is doing with Charge Station by bringing the electricity local, being able to funnel it directly into your house, so that you no longer have to pick up the tab for finding the natural gas, processing the natural gas, distributing the natural gas to your house at ever increasing in prices. You will no longer have to participate in that. Here's the thing with the solar panels, is once you've taken and acquired these, and these things are just paid off, okay? They're paid off now. The sun will continue to produce power that will continue to provide power for your house and your family for years and years and years. The useful life on panels that I take and use is around 50 years. Or in other words, like a lot of us are going to be pretty dang old. So if you're 30, you're going to be about 80 by the time these things are done. So if you're 50, about the time you pass away, hopefully you don't, maybe you live past 100, but around 100 years is when you'd have to take and replace these things. As you can see, they've got a very long, useful life. And the big thing is the cost of what solar to own it, to be able to own your own power station, is peanuts compared to the same lifespan of actually getting natural gas to power your house. So now you say, okay, wait a minute. Now if you take and you look at your electricity, you source electricity from the power company, right? So what they'll do is they'll go off and they'll burn coal, or they'll go create a nuclear power plant, all kinds of stuff. Well, they've got the exact same problem in their supply chain. And some of the major problems is those facilities are very expensive to operate. The grid was only designed to last 50 years. It is now about 70 years old. It is beyond, 20 years beyond what its expected useful life is. And what you'll see is across the entire United States, there's massive grid failures that are taking place because the system is starting to fail. Well, what it means is the supply chain experience of being able to generate electricity, transmit the electricity to like their stations, and then redistribute the electricity to us is actually going up at an increasing rate. It's not because, well, it might be because they're not managing their expenses, but it doesn't change the fact that that thing or that process, that wheel or that mousetrap or whatever you want to call it, is very expensive to maintain, and it's aged. So now you come back here and you say, well, wait a minute. If I put the solar up on my house and I can locally produce power that then takes and it comes down and it feeds directly into my house, so that I no longer find myself dependent on the grid or a power outage or a power failure or some big winter storm that comes in and knocks out the entire grid, you find yourself not actually having to participate in that. So what I'm really showing you is what I think of this as the end game. What I'm saying, look into the future and see how it's changing. The way we've been consuming power will in the past does not mean it's going to be the same way that we consume power in the future. The big thing that's coming into play is the ability to do, like you can say, like plants or whatever it is, where they've been generating and pulling power from the sun for millions of years. And we have finally discovered and stepped into this. And so this is what I'm talking about on solar. Line items that you have where you're spending $600 to $1,000 a month today, when we have solar things like this in place, we can actually completely obliterate that, because solar can actually produce the power we need at a substantial discount to that. And like the easiest thing that, like for me, to be able to just say is, okay, look what Elon Musk has done. He's literally allowed you to drive from California to New York with no money because you can go into his charge station. Boom, 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 boom. Right? Imagine. Like, here's what my brother-in-law did. When he wanted solar, at this particular time, he had an employee that said, hey, I've got a Nissan Leaf. I've got this electric vehicle, and would you be interested in taking and assuming the lease on it? Well, here's the equation my brother-in-law did. He was spending $300 a month on the gas to be able to power his car to and from work. But when he went onto the solar route, we increased his solar payment. We increased the solar payment by about $50 a month. But the $50 a month solar payment, sourcing power from solar, offset a $300 gas bill. You see what I mean? And therein lies the secret. The other secret that comes into this is, like, one of the things about cars that, like, the car dealerships don't necessarily make tons of money selling the cars. Where a lot of the money, or most of the money, is derived from is actually providing you services on the cars, because they need oil changes, they need brake changes, they need all kinds of maintenance, because they have, like, an average car's got, say, like 2,000 moving parts, okay? On an electric vehicle, you're talking about a dozen moving parts. Or in other words, this car is designed to have very few moving parts. Or in other words, the money is not in the maintenance of the car. They've taken and they've pulled the maintenance out of the car. So like, for example, like on a Tesla car, when it's driving down the road and it goes to brake, what it does is it uses the motors to start going backwards, to start pushing against it going forward rather than just clamping on something and grinding down the brakes. But here's the secret, is they take and they cause this engine or these tires, the motors to start pushing it to go backwards. It actually it generates electricity, and that electricity comes back and repowers the car. See what I mean? So it charges itself by braking. Therefore, on average, if you were to say electricity compared to a gallon of gas, and you're trying to figure out some sort of equation like what's the efficiency factor, an electric vehicle can get about 100 miles to the gallon if it was using gas versus whatever we're getting on our cars. See the difference? But that's the magic. It is changing everything. It's clear. You can see it. The writing's on the wall. In fact, you can see it with all the major automakers because they are all now shifting to electric vehicles. They're shifting away from it because the secret is being able to get renewable power in a fashion that is substantially less than what we're paying today. And so that's kind of my wrap on it. So you can learn more by going to AskSolarMike.com. Check it out. I can help you understand how this is going to impact you in the future. Solar is not going away. If anything, it is getting substantially bigger. Because even like you've noticed the solar farms, the wind farms, well, not necessarily wind farms, you've seen some, but you've seen the solar farms because everybody's becoming more and more aware that is how it's shifting. Anyway, you can go to AskSolarMike.com, ASK, SolarMike.com.